Hello students. Today in this video, we'll discuss the first chapter of business studies of class 12th, nature and significance of management. In this video, we'll discuss management as a science. Management as a science. Yes, management can be called as a science. Why? We'll discuss it in detail. Science is a systemized body of knowledge that explains certain general truths or the operations of general law. The basic features of science are as follows. First, systemized body of knowledge. Yes, science is a systematic body of knowledge. Its principles are based on cause and effect relationship. For example, the phenomenon of an apple falling from a tree towards the ground is explained by the law of gravity. Yes, to be any subject called to be a science, it must possess the systematized body of knowledge. As you know, that the principles of science are totally based on cause and effect relationship. As it has been explained by an example, that whenever clear of an apple that falls from a tree, it comes down to the earth. Why? Because the law of gravity is there. So for any fact, there will be a cause and effect relationship. Like when we hit a ball hard to the wall, it comes out, it bounces back to us. Why? Because we have a law of motion over there. So there is a cause and effect relationship. Second, the principles based on experimentations. Yes, scientific principles are first developed through observation, then tested through repeated experiments under control conditions. Now, when we talk about the principles of when we talk about the principles of science, the scientific principles are totally developed first through observation, then they are being experimented repeatedly, you could say experimented in the labs under control conditions, and when you find the same kind of outcome, then it becomes a principle for science. Third, universal validity. The scientific principles have universal validity in application. It means when you talk about scientific principles, they are applicable all over the country, or you could say all over the world basically. Whatever principle that you will find in India, you will find the same principles in America and other parts of the world. It means the principles of science are totally applicable all over the universe. Now, based on the above feature, we can say that management has some characteristics of science. So basically, for any subject to be called as science, you must possess these three features. Now, when you talk about in context of management, yes, management can too be called as science. Number one, management has a systematic body of knowledge. Yes, management is a systematic body of knowledge as it has its own theory and principles that have been developed over a period of time. But it also draws on other disciplines such as economics, sociology, psychology, and mathematics. Like all other organized activity, management has its own vocabulary of terms and concepts. Now, when we talk about management to be a science, yes, it too has a systematic body of knowledge. It has to its vocabulary. We have the publications of management. It has its own organized activity. It has its own concepts. For example, all of us discuss sports like cricket and soccer using a common vocabulary. The players also use these terms to communicate with each other. Similarly, managers need to communicate with one another with the help of a common vocabulary for a better understanding of their work situations. So, that makes management to be a science because it has a systematic body of knowledge as it possesses its own vocabulary, it has its own concepts, and the different managers use these vocabularies so that they can make the another individual understand what they want to convey to them. So, the first characteristic to be a science is fulfilled by management. Second, the principles of management have evolved over a period of time based on repeated experimentations and observations in different types of organization. Now when we talk about the principles of management, yes, the management principles as the principles of science that has been evolved over a period of time by doing lot of experimentation, or you could say repeated experimentation under control conditions. The same way the principles of management has been evolved over a period of time based on repeated experimentation and observation in different types of organization. Means when you talk about the management principles, they have been evolved over a period of time. First, the things has been observed by the managers, then they have experimented the same in different organizations under different conditions over a period of time, and when they find the same kind of result, then they meet the principles of management. As we have 14 principles of management that has been given by Henry Fayol, we have the scientific principle that has been given by F.W. Taylor. So you can say the principles of management have evolved over a period of time based on repeated experimentation and observation. But here we face one problem, that these principles of management are being applied on humans, and as we know that human behavior is totally different from the other, or I could say individual differences are being there. So the outcomes of these experiments are not capable of being actually predicted or replicated. As in case of science, you will find every time if you apply the same, you will find the same kind of response, or could say the same kind of output. But in case of management, as you have to deal with the human behavior, and as we know that human behavior is totally unpredictable, totally indifferent from other, so it will not always that you will find the same kind of result, or you will find the same kind of accuracy, or the result will not be repeated the same all over the time. So you can say management can be called an inexact science just because of this fact, because this feature that you are going to get the same kind of repeat results every time. It's not possible in case of management. That makes to be an inexact science. Despite these limitations, management scholars have been able to identify general principles of management. For example, scientific management, as I've told you that scientific management has been given by F.W. Taylor, and functional management principles has been given by Henry Fayol, clear, which are worldwide applicable and accepted by the different institutions and the organizations. Third, since the principles of management are not as exact as the principles of science, their application and use is not universal. They have to be modified according to the given situation. However, they provide manager with certain standardized techniques that can be used in different situations. These principles are also used for training and development of managers. Now, when you come to the third point, that management principles are universally applicable or not. Yes, management principles are universally applicable, but one limitation is there, that we have to deal with the human. And as we know, human behavior is totally unpredictable, it's totally indifferent from the other. So you will not find the same kind of results every time. So what do you have to do? According to the situation, clear, according to the individual, you have to make some kind of modification in management principles so that it can suit to the problem, or it can suit to the situation. So what do you have to do? You have to alter the management principles according to the situations or according to the individuals. However, these management principles give some kind of strides techniques that can be used in different situations. As we have different principles that has been given, of basically the 14 principle that has been given by Henry Fayol. So these 14 principles can be used as a base to face any kind of situation that arises in business, or you can make some kind of modification as per the need of the situation. So when we go through with these features of management, clear, you can make out that management can be called to be a science, but not to that extent, clear, not 100% you could say, but yes, management can be called to be a science. Now sometimes it has been asked that is management is an art or a science. So already we have discussed in our previous video about management as an art. Now we have discussing management to be a science. Yes, it possesses both the features of management as an art as well as management as a science. So conclusively, you can say that management can be called to be both science as well as an art. However, managers can work better if their practice is based on principles of management. These principles constitute the science of management. Management as an art and a science are therefore not mutually exclusive but complement each other. Yes, you can say that they are not conclusive in exclusive. They are not mutually exclusive but complement each other. Yes, support each other. Clear? And in a nutshell, you can say management is both a science as well as an art. Now, we'll discuss management as a profession. Now, when we talk about management as a profession, now we can say that when we talk about an organized activity, every organized activity needs to be managed. It has been observed that organizations look for individuals with specific qualification and experience to manage them. Now, when we talk about handling or managing of any business activity, when we talk about an individual that is being required for the same, we look into the professional qualification of that individual or the experience of that individual, whether he will be capable of managing the business activities or business affairs or not. So it has been observed that there has been an increase in the corporate form of business on one hand and increasing emphasis on managed business concerns. So does this imply that management is a profession? Yes, to some extent you can say management is up as a profession or is a profession. Now we have to examine the features of subject to be called as profession. Now we'll discuss them one by one. To be a profession, the following characteristics are being required. First, well-defined body of knowledge. Yes, all professions are based on a well-defined body of knowledge that can be acquired through instructions. Yes, as you know that whenever we talk about any profession, that particular profession has a well-defined body of knowledge that will be imparted or that is being imparted in different institutions who are specifically giving a special kind of knowledge for that particular profession. Like we have law colleges to impart the knowledge of law. We have medical colleges who are imparting the knowledge of medical. Clear? We have teaching institutions who are giving the knowledge of teaching and so on. So you can say to be a profession, you must have a well defined body of knowledge that will be, this knowledge will be imparted to you through instructions. Second one is restricted entry. The entry to a profession is restricted through an examination or through acquiring an educational degree. Now, when we talk about a profession, yes, to be in any of the profession, you required a specific degree or a specific knowledge, and these knowledge will be acquired by you in any professional education institute. Now, for example, to become a chartered accountant in India, a candidate must clear a specific examination conducted by AICA, that is I Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Like to be a doctor, you must possess a MBBS degree. To be a lawyer, you must possess a law degree. So means what, to be in any of the profession, you can only in when you have that kind of degree with you or the knowledge or the education qualification with you. So it means what, restricted entry. Without having that kind of professional knowledge and professional degree, you cannot enter into that particular profession. So there is restricted entry. The next is your professional association. Now when you talk about professional association, all professionals need to get them registered with their professional association. Now when you talk about professional association is the institution that formulates rules and regulations, norms, code of conducts, clear, that every individual in that particular profession has to follow, or he needs or she needs to abide with the rules and regulations that has been formulated by professional association. Like for example, to able to practice in India, lawyers have to become the members of bar council. Clear? Means when you want to practice as a lawyer in any of the court of India, then you need to be the member of bar council, and this bar council is going to regulates and controls their activities. This council is going to decide the code of conduct, how they are going to behave in their in that particular profession. So to be in profession, you must be the member of professional association, that is being required. Fourth point, ethical code of conduct. Now, as I've told you that to be in any profession, you must be the part of that professional association. Now, this professional association is going to formulate the code of conduct. So, every professional is bound by the code of conduct which guides the behavior of its members. Like for example, all doctors, for example, take the oath of ethical practice at the time they enter the profession. While entering into the profession, they take an oath that they are going to treat the patient irrespective of his caste, creed, and so on. So, you have to follow that ethical code of conduct that has been laid down by the professional association to be in that particular profession. Last, the service motive. The basic motive of a profession is to serve their client's interest by rendering dedicated and committed services. The task of a lawyer is to ensure that his client gets justice. Now, when we talk about any subject to be a profession, one of the characteristics is being required is what? Service motive. Whenever you entering in any of the profession, your aim should be what? To provide service. So, whenever you are in any of the profession, you must provide service to your client, or you must satisfy your client by rendering good services to him or her. Now, when you talk about management to be as a profession, in a nutshell, you can say management does not possess all the characteristics of subject to be as a profession. So, you can say management to be an inexact profession. Now, why? Reason. Management does not meet the exact criteria of a profession. However, it does have some of the features of a profession. First, now when we talk about all over the world, there is a marked growth in management as a discipline. It is based on a systematic body of knowledge comprising well-defined practices, principles based on variety of business situations. This knowledge can be acquired at different colleges and professional institutes and through a number of books and journals. The subject of management is taught at different institutions. Some of these have been set up with the specific purpose of providing management education, such as the Indian Institutes of Management, IIMs in India, and entry to these institutions is usually through an examination. Now, when you talk about the first, yes, it's a systematic body of discipline. You can have the knowledge of management that has been imparted in different education institutes or the professional institutes. Basically, in India, we have different management institutes who are imparting the management education, but entry to such institution is restricted, as you have to pass the qualification exam for that, and these institutions are giving, or these institutions are imparting the knowledge of management. They have the management has books, numbers of books, journals, and so on, which make it to be a profession, that it has a systematic body of knowledge. Now, when it comes to the second point, restricted entry, there is no restriction or anyone being designated or appointed as a manager in any business enterprise. Anyone can call to be a manager irrespective of education qualification possessed. Like all, as we have discussed that restricted entry is there, clear. In case of management, there is no such restriction that you must purchase that kind of degree only, that then only can you can be the manager of that particular business. Even you will find individuals with less education qualification are also managing the business affairs very efficiently. So there is no such restriction, and just because of this point, the restricted entry feature is not followed in case of management. Unlike professions such as medicine or law, which requires a practicing doctor or lawyer to purchase a valid degree, nowhere in the world it's mandatory for a manager to purchase such kind of specific degree. So this point restricted entry, clear, it lags back in case of your management. But nowadays you will find the institutions or the organizations are looking for those individuals who purchase management degrees. Now when we come to the point service motive, because this is the feature of a profession, that it should be a service motive. Now when we talk about management, the purpose of management is to help the organization to achieve its stated goal. And when you talk about the stated goal of the organization is what? The maximization of profit. And being a manager, if you are thinking of maximizing the profit, so you left with the concern of service motive, because you give due importance to the profit. So even this characteristic is not is being there in case of your management, because one being a profession, you talk about service motive, but here being in management, you talk about profit. So you left over what? Service motive. So however, the profit maximization as the objective of management does not hold true, and it's fast changing. Therefore, in an organization, a good management team that is efficient and effective, it ultimately serves society by providing good quality products at reasonable prices. But now when you talk about in the context scenario, a business can only earn profit when it serves the society, and when the acceptance of the society will be there, then only it will be able for the business to have more profits. So when we look into the features of management to be a profession, what we find that it does not support all the characteristics to be a profession. So in a nutshell, we can say that management is an inexact profession, because it does not support service motive, it does not support restricted entry, clear, it does not support ethical code of conduct, because no no manager is being bound, clear, to be the member of professional association. Though we have the professional association of management, IMA, that is All India Management Association, but it's not required for the managers to be the member of that. Then code of conduct has been formulated by this IMA, but it's not that every manager must follow this code of conduct that has been laid down by IMA. So on a nutshell, we can say that the features are not being followed, or the characteristics of professions are not being strictly followed by management. Then that's why we can call it to be an inexact profession. So in a nutshell, we can conclude that management can be called to be a management can be called to be an inexact profession. Thank you. Thank you for your patience listening.